Hey, what's up, guys? Guardian here, coming to you guys with another Time-Leap episode. And yeah, we are finally here. So, for those of you who saw an old mail opening that I did a few months ago, I got some old school cards from season 1 of Vanguard. And yeah, we are here. And some of those cards are not in this video, but we will be showcasing those cards later down the line when a particular new set comes out featuring a particular new card for Royal Paladin in standard format. But for now, we are going to go back in time to a deck that I never owned. Yeah, so for those that don't know, I only started playing Vanguard when the Limit Break stuff came out. And I know that the time frames were quite weird at the beginning of Vanguard in English, was that the Season 1 stuff and Season 2 stuff was kind of coming out with each other. So yeah, it was a bit of a weird time frame, but I never actually owned a Season 1 deck. I only picked up the Blondezel deck from the Limit Break era with the Garmor trial deck and BT06, and then just went forward from there. And then I went into Liberators and then, of course, Seekers. So, yeah, this is a deck that I never owned, but I eventually got around to building this deck because it was something that I wanted to own and actually have in my archive. So, yeah, I'm really proud and happy to present the Season 1 deck for Royal Paladin. So this is going to be classic Royal Paladin. And we see here right at the front, the old school King of Knights Alfred. And I have to say one thing about the old school cards is that the foiling on these things are just insane. I absolutely love this like slashed foil that Alfred has. It's really, really nice. So, without further ado, we will get stuck into this deck and I'll showcase to you what I play. Now, I wanted to give sort of an homage to Aichi in this and sort of run a variety of units that he played, but also keep the deck fairly decent so that it's, playable. So yeah, so we're going to start with the grade 3s, of course, and of course you've already seen him. We are going to start with King of Knights Alfred. So I'm playing 3 copies of him. So for those that don't know what the old school cards do, there is his skill there. But yeah, old school Alfred could not be boosted. He basically gained power for each rearguard that you controlled that was a Royal Paladin. Because remember, back in old school Vanguard, you could actually mix your clans. So Alfred really wanted you to play a Royal Paladin deck so that you could, get him to like 20,000 power and then just start swinging with him on your Vanguard circles. So yeah. And then his counterblast was that you could counterblast 3 on Vanguard or Rearguard to call out a grade 2 or lower Royal Paladin from your deck. So yeah, you think counterblasts are a thing these days? Well, yeah, counterblasting 3, that's pretty heavy. So yeah, but I think one thing I noticed from this like old school era was that counterblasts were not really, a thing that you did a lot. It was more of just a tool just to help you get certain types of cards or just do a certain skill that you wanted to do to try advance your game state. But that's what I can make of it. So if anyone who did play original like Season 1 decks could help me out here, I'd really appreciate it. But yeah, this is just from like, practice games that I've had with this deck. And I have to say, although the game's very simplistic, it's still fun, it's still like a back and forth battle between you and your opponent. And yeah, it's for the most part, it's quite enjoyable. So the next grade 3 that we've got is a personal favorite of mine. And this is the old school Soul Saver Dragon. So this card says that when it attacks a Vanguard, it gets 3,000 power. And that's actually pretty good because 13k was actually a relevant number back then. For meeting cross-ride numbers. So cross-rides, of course, popular units like Phantom Blaster Dragon had a cross-ride called Phantom Blaster Overlord, and that could get to a 13k base. So having 13k Vanguard attacks was actually pretty nice. So that's pretty good. And yeah, we also had like Dragonic Overlord with Dragonic Overlord at the end and, stuff like that. So, Soul Saver is actually quite similar in the fact that it does Soul Blast 5, but it's on place. So when you place it on the Vanguard circle, you Soul Blast 5 to give 3 of your units. Is it 3 units or 3 rear guards? I forgot. Choose up to 3 of your Royal Paladin rearguards. Yeah, so 3 of your rearguards get 5,000 power, which is actually pretty big, because that means, each of those 5 power allocations is going to ask your opponent to drop another 5k worth of shield, which is a really good way to diminish your opponent's hand size, especially when they're on a high damage count. It really does help pressure them, but I only play 2 of them because I do also play Pongal in here, and the old school Pongal has the ability to search for Soul Saver, so that's really cool. So I like how consistent the deck is as well, because you can actually fetch for particular pieces that you may want. So that's really, really cool. So yeah, Soul Saver is a personal favorite of mine, and I love the old school Soul Saver, so that's really, really nice. And then next for the grade 3s, we have 2 copies of Swordsman of the Explosive Flames, Palamedes. So yeah, this one actually came out in BT3, which I didn't know. So this was actually a later support card, but for the most part, he's actually pretty good. He's essentially just a 13k attacker. You need to have 2 grade 3s on your field, with him being on Vanguard or Rearguard. So yeah, he was pretty good. Like I said, 13k was a relevant number to hit, and the fact that he could do it on his own, so you didn't need a booster, was actually pretty good. So I wanted to put 2 copies of him in the deck just to have as a decent sort of Rearguard to smack with, for grade 3s. And yeah, to finish off the grade 3s, actually, we have another personal favorite. I might as well stop saying personal favorite, because a lot of the Paladin cards I like. So yeah, but we have a very nostalgic unit, which is Solidarity Knight Gancelot. And the reason I actually wanted to put this in the deck was just the fact that this was actually the first card that I actually pulled from a booster pack. It was his first grade 3 that he got. So yeah, I definitely wanted to put this in here just for nostalgia's sake. But for the most part, it's actually pretty decent. It's a Counterblast 2. If you have a Blaster Blade in your soul, he gets 5,000 power and a crit. So gaining a critical that easily is pretty nice, and it can really pressure the opponent sometimes. And you could do that multiple times in the game, depending on if that's the strategy you want to go for. So it's up to you on that, but he does have the second skill, which is you can reveal him in your hand to put him back into the deck, and then you can search for Blaster Blade and add that to your hand instead. So if anything, he's just an additional copy of Blaster Blade if you don't want to end up riding him, and if not, he's just a 9k attacker. And that's something worth knowing, is that this is actually a 9k grade 3, you can see there. So yeah, pretty strange, because I can't really recall many other grade 3s that had 9k power. I think Kagero had one in a trial deck, I think. But yeah, it was a very obscure number. But numbers for Vanguard was like, you saw your 10Ks, generally speaking, that was like the normal number you would see. Certain clans would have 11k, like Draconic Overlord, and then of course you had your cross rides with 13. And then a Majesty Lord Blaster was only a 12, which was strange. Yeah, numbers are a bit all over the place, but those were like the relevant numbers you needed to bear in mind. So yeah. So that is it for the grade 3s. So I'm going to center those just a little bit better. Just there will do. So moving on to the grade 2s, we of course have 2 copies of our Avatar, Blaster Blade. So yeah, I'm only playing 2 of them, just because here's a Counterblast, and you want to make room for other stuff in the deck that doesn't really cost resources, but I think 2 is a respectable number, just because you may or may not use the Vanguard Ride skill or the Rearguard Retire. It's completely up to you on that, but yeah, I will do a quick zoom in on the skill for those who want to read it. There you go. But yeah, I also run Barcgal as my starter, so I kind of wanted just to have 2, just to have 1 in the deck to Superior Ride, and then a spare one just in case I want to like search out with Gancelot, or just have it there for the sake of having a spare, just in case it gets damage checked or something. So yeah, 2 Blaster Blade right there, and then also another main thing is that I wanted to run quite a few units that didn't cost resources. So, Blaster Blade is a Counterblast, Alfred's a Counterblast, Gancelot's a Counterblast if you do end up using that, but more times than often I don't. But I do also run 2 copies of High Dog Breeder Akane. So, yeah, the old Akane is basically, it allows you to search for a high beast from your deck for 2 Counterblasts, and yeah, of course, you're going to be using this to search for things like Pongal, which allows you to then search for Soul Saver Dragons. So Akane is actually pretty nice as well, because it really helps you with building up your field, so that you can then power up King and Knight's Alfred again. So yeah, you had like different routes in this deck that you could take. You could like focus on the retire aspect of Blaster Blade, and you could focus on Akane to build the board up. You really wanted to plan out your counterblasts to sort of think about where you want to put them, to better use. But yeah, it was like counterblasts were a lot more choice heavy. You needed to choose and choose wisely, rather than just doing it willy nilly sort of thing. So yeah, but I went for 2 and 2 on Blaster Blade and Akane because I also wanted to make room for some like vanilla slash non-resource effect grade 2s, which we will get into now. So the next grade 2 is 3 copies of Knight of Truth Gordon. And yeah, I really like Gordon. I love his vanilla artwork, his sort of like old school artwork. But yeah, what he does is that he is basically a superior interceptor. So he gets 5k extra shield when he intercepts, which is actually really good because it kind of goes with the theory of Royal Paladin, is that you want to be calling down your units to gain a board and then power up Alfred. And he actually wants you to do that because when you call him and you intercept with him, he'll get 5k shield, which is really, really cool. So I kind of like that. But I'm only playing 3 of them though, because I did want to put 4 copies of this guy in. Just get him here. 4 copies of Knight of Silence Galatine. So yeah, Galatine, this is just the 10k vanilla. And 10k vanillas were just always decent. They were able to hit Vanguards, well, particular Vanguards on their own without a booster. But they just made really good numbers as well, generally. So yeah, I did want to run 4 of him. And then the 3 Gordon, and then 2 and 2 on Blaster Blade and Akane. So a bit of a weird ratio, but I was quite happy with this because, like I said, I also wanted to have like a diverse unit lineup with the deck, just to sort of make it more entertaining and more fun. So yeah, 4 copies of Galatine. So now we'll move on to the grade 1s. So starting off the grade 1s, we have 4 copies of the vanilla Little Sage Merrin. So yeah, this is a nostalgia trip, isn't it? The old vanilla Merrin, of course, similar to Galatine. Just vanillas were just good because they had, good numbers, good booster, and yeah, it was just a good ride target as well. So got to run 4 copies of Merrin. And then next for the grade 1s, we have the good boy himself, Pongal. But yeah, Pongal, really simple skill, but basically what it does is that whilst on the rear guard, you can counterblast 1, put him into the soul, and then search your deck for Soul Saver Dragon. So yeah, really, really nice. This deck is just so synergistic with everything, because obviously Pongal can get called out by Akane, and Pongal can go get the Soul Saver Dragon from your deck. So really, really nice grade 1 there. And for the most part, if he didn't use the skill, he was just a solid 7k booster as well. So that is also very nice. And something else that was very nice to have back then were Perfect Guards. And yeah, like I think I've said this in most of my Time-Leap videos, but Perfect Guards were just a pain to get back in the old school Vanguard. But yeah, we are running 4 copies of Flash Shield Iseult. There is the old artwork of her. Bear with me with the glare. But yeah, really, really nice in that double rare foiling. So we've got 4 copies of her just so that we can block those big, scary Vanguard attacks that we don't want to minus ourselves over too heavily. So we got 4 copies of Iseult. I'll put her over here near Galatine. Just there will do. And then for the final grade 1, we have the meme himself, Young Pegasus Knight. Yeah, I'll always I'll always remember this card because of when Aichi was versing Kyo in season 1. It was when Aichi was sort of getting like infected by Sequoia a little bit, and it was going to his head. He just gained a massive confidence boost, but he became just really arrogant, and he just said to Kyo, "Oh, I'll verse you. And by the way, Young Pegasus Knight, yeah, this is the card that's going to beat you." And yeah, Kyo was just laughing in Aichi's face, and I was just like, "Oh boy, this is going to be interesting." And it's really one of the most memorable fights I remember from season 1. Just Young Pegasus Knight scaring the heck out of Kyo was just so funny. And yeah, I just had to play this in the deck, and it actually works well because Pongal can go into Soul, give this card power. For those that don't know what Young Pegasus Knight does, it gains 3,000 power every time something goes into your soul, basically, during your main phase. So, yeah, it's okay. 6k is actually a respectable number. It's a good booster for Galatine, at least. But, yeah, it's okay. I just had to run 2 of it in the deck just for the memes and the lols, So, definitely I've run 2 Young Pegasus Knight. We'll put him right there. And then last but not least, we have the grade 0s. We are running, of course, Barcgal. Like I said earlier in the video, I know that Barcgal got banned at some point. I know that DifferentFight made a video about Barcgal, which I'll put that in the description for those that want to know more information about Barcgal, in case you're wondering why it got banned. But yeah, it's just one of my favorite cards. I really wish, if I did play Season 1 Vanguard decks, I really wish I had this deck back then. But I also know that old school Royal Paladin was like really expensive at the time as well. Like I think Alfred himself was like £20 or something like that, which is ridiculous. But yeah, we have old school Barcgal right there, which you got to play with Future Knight Lou and Flogel to get your superior ride of Blaster Blade, which we'll put him. Yeah, we'll put him right there. There's a glare down here, which I'm trying to avoid, which yeah, you might notice that. And then last but not least, we have the triggers. We are running 4 copies of Epelner for criticals, and then the final 2 crits we're playing is 2 copies of Future Knight Lou, of course, for the Barcgal, so we can superior ride Blaster Blade from the deck. And then we have 2 copies of Flogel. I felt comfortable just bringing 2 and 2 of them, just in case any of them got damage checked. You had a spare copy there, just in case. But yeah, 2 Flogel and 2 Lou was good enough for me. And then we have the 4 copies of Margal, who has been around for a really long time. But yes, Margal's just solid. Goes into Soul, gives something 3000 power. And again, you're feeding Soul for things like Soul Saver, which is really good. And last but not least, we have the classic heal trigger, the one that saved Aichi's life against Kai in the first episode. Elaine, yeah. Really, really nostalgic unit to see. Just remember seeing this all the time, saving Aichi in Season 1. And I think he also saved him in the fight against Ren towards the end as well. So yeah, Elaine, very, very classic unit to see. So yeah, that is the deck, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It took longer than I thought it was going to, but I eventually got around to building this deck. And yeah, I'm really happy to actually own this deck now. And I do play the old school Vanguard every now and then with some friends. But yeah, like with all my other Time-Leap videos, it's just really nostalgic and just a great experience to be able to go back in time and revisit these old formats of Vanguard as it's evolved through the years. And we do have our favorites. I think one of my favorites is the Break Ride one. It's probably my most favorite era. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this classic look at Royal Paladin. I hope you got a bit of nostalgia from it for those that remember this stuff, or at least watched the anime back then. And yeah, I will catch you guys in the next video, which will probably be some standard decks for the new Miyagi Academy set. So look forward to that. So guys, without further ado, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care, guys. See you later. Bye.